Hey there, sports history fan. This is Ross Bliley, the host of the Pigskin Tales podcast. Are you looking for that perfect, unique gift for your sports-loving child or grandchild? Or maybe you're looking for one. Well, I got something very unique for you. It's a racket. It's the ultimate device for the ultimate fan. It's perfect for any time you need to make some noise. What it is a 7-inch compact megaphone. It's got 8 powerful adjustable LED lights, noisemakers. Plus, you can design it all you want to match your team's colors. So get on out there and let's get loud. Bring a racket to your next game or competition to cheer on your favorite team or athlete. To pick up your racket today, head to myracket.com. That's myraket.com.
This podcast is part of the Sports History Network, your headquarters for the yesteryear of your favorite sport. You can learn more at sportshistorynetwork.com.
The Rose Bowl. The game that inspired the college football bowl season has a long and storied history. The stadium itself is 100 years old, and in celebration of it, Pigskin Dispatch is assembling some of the top historians and authors to share the memories, people, and events that make the granddaddy of them all the special game that it is. Enjoy this Rose Bowl memory from pigskindispatch.com.
Hello, my football friends. This is Darren Hayes of the pigskindispatch.com. Welcome once again to the Pig Pen, your portal to positive football history. And as we've been saying all month long, this is the portal to Rose Bowl history. We're talking about each and every Rose Bowl game that was played. And this time we are up to the 83rd and 84th Rose Bowls out of the 108 that have been played so far. 109th coming up here in January 2023, celebrating 100 years of the Rose Bowl Stadium. Now, we are going to talk about those in a moment, but we want to make sure that you are aware we are on Twitter. We are at Pigskin Dispatch. We'd love to have you follow us, and we follow back, so please do. Also follow us at Orville Mulligan, at Orville Mulligan, and you can find out everything that's going on within the Orville Mulligan world for our audio drama. Now, let's get into that 1997 Rose Bowl for starters. The 83rd annual Rose Bowl game, it was called. It was played on January 1st, 1997, and the 10-1 Ohio State Buckeyes of head coach John Cooper took on Bruce Snyder and his Arizona Sun Devils and their stellar 11-0 record that they produced that year. Ohio State got on the board first in this game with quarterback Stanley Jackson's toss of a 9-yard touchdown past a true freshman wideout David Boston, capping a drive that saw Jackson scramble for some 20 yards on third down, and Josh Jackson's PAT was good, making it 7-0 in favor of the Buckeyes. ASU crawled back into the contest right before the halftime after some stifling defense on both sides, and it ended on a 25-yard touchdown pass play from Jake Plummer at the time to Ricky Boyer, tying the game at 7s after Robert Nitz's extra point sailed true through the uprights. Second half was just as thrilling as the first. ASU took the lead on a Nitz 77-yard field goal, and the Buckeyes regained the lead when Demetrius Stanley hauled in a 72-yard pass from Joe Germain to make it 14-10 OSU. In the fourth quarter, things were really getting heated up. Jake Plummer scrambled for an 11-yard scoring run to put ASU ahead once again with 1:40 remaining on the clock. And Ohio State still needed to be done as it rallied to finish the scoring with 19 ticks left on the clock, and David Boston's 5-yard pass reception from Germain to provide a 20-17 final score right there in the last couple minutes of the game. Buckeye quarterback Joe Germain was named the Rose Bowl Player of the Game for his fine play, including that memorable last-minute scoring drive. And that was John Cooper's. That was a great Rose Bowl win for him after some trying years that he had with Ohio State. He had some great times at it, but just seemed to be struggling against his nemesis, Michigan, quite a bit. But speaking of Michigan, well, they appeared in the 1998 Rose Bowl on January 1st, 1998, the 84th Rose Bowl game, and they ended up being the top-ranked team in the nation. At 11-0 were the Wolverines of Coach Lloyd Carr, playing against Washington State's Cougars with Coach Mike Price at the helm, who had a very respectable record himself of 10-1. This one was close game throughout for Rose Bowl. These teams went to the locker room tied at 7. And Cougar signal caller Ryan Leaf connected with Kevin McKenzie on a 15-yard play to take a 7-0 lead. Now, Washington State forced Michigan to punt, and Leaf then marched the Cougars into the Michigan red zone, but Heisman winner Charles Woodson picked off Leaf pass in the end zone to thwart that threat. And a bit later, after trading possessions, UM's quarterback Brian Greasy found Ty Streets at full gallop down the right sideline for a 53-yard touchdown pass play to tie that game. Now, Leaf led the Cougars on a dramatic 99-yard drive to put Washington State back into the lead, capped off by Sean Timms taking a reverse play 14 yards for the score. The extra point was no good, so that put Washington State up 13-7 in the game. Michigan responded on a touchdown drive of their own, when Greasy connected with Streets again, this time from 58 yards out on a well-timed play-action call. A bit later, Jermaine Tooman built upon the UM lead when he caught a Greasy pass and scored a touchdown as well. WSU answered with a long drive of their own that ended with a Ryan Lindell 48-yard field goal with 7:25 left to play to make the score 21-16 Michigan. The Wolverines had a conservative, time-consuming series that resulted in a pooch punt by A.J. Feely from field goal formation and left Washington State starting a new series at its own 7-yard line with 29 seconds left on the clock. Now, Leaf tried to rally the troops for a comeback, getting the ball to the Michigan 26-yard line. They were down by 5, and confusion ensued when they lost time trying to clock the ball with an apparent 1 second left. However, referee Dick Burleson declared that the quarterback spiked the ball after the clock had reached zeros and thus ended the game. Final score was 21-16 Michigan, and Brian Greasy was named as the game's most outstanding player, and it was the final season of the Big Ten versus Pac-10 contract, these games, because the BCS would be starting up the following season, and of course the Rose Bowl would be a part of that, either the playoff or the championship game, as we're going to find out here in some ensuing podcast episodes coming up and some stories. Now, this Big Ten win, even the series of the two conferences playing against each other for all these many decades at Pasadena, 26 wins for each conference, which is, I found that hard to believe at first, but that's what they're saying it was. Seems like the Pac-10 would have won more than the Big Ten had, but that's what just because the 70s and the 80s it seemed that way. Now, that is not the end of our Rose Bowl telecast here and podcast, because we are going to be covering each and every one, like we said, all 108. These are the 83rd and 84th Rose Bowl games that were played, but some exciting games, and this one, coming down to the last couple minutes, and Dick Burleson, the referee, ended up saying that Ryan Leaf clocked it after the zeros. That's there was a lot of controversy in that game, and the coaching staff of the Washington State was not very happy about that decision. But what could you do? It was a time before instant replay was in the college game. So hope you enjoyed this. I hope you join us each and every day. And if you've missed some of these Rose Bowl episodes and want to catch up on them, it's real easy to do. You can find them at your favorite podcast provider under Pigskin Dispatch. Go to pigskindispatch.com or sportshistorynetwork.com. And we'd love to have you listen to those and catch up. And we have some great guests that we've already talked to with some great Rose Bowl history, and more coming up here as we get all the way to the big day of the game of this 2023 game with Penn State and USC. Can't wait for that. So till tomorrow, everybody, have a great gridiron day. Peeking up at the clock, the time's running down. We're going to go into victory formation, take a knee, and let this baby run out. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you back tomorrow for the next podcast. We invite you to check out our website, pigskindispatch.com, not only to see the daily football history, but to experience positive football with our many articles on the good people of the game, as well as our own football comic strip, Cleat Marks Comics. Pigskindispatch.com is also on social media outlets, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and don't forget the Pigskin Dispatch YouTube channel to get all of your positive football news and history. A special thanks to the talents of Mike and Jean Monroe, as well as Jason Neff for letting us use their music during our podcast.
This podcast is part of the Sports History Network, your headquarters for the yesteryear of your favorite sport. You can learn more at sportshistorynetwork.com. Hey there, sports history fan. This is Arnie Chapman, aka the Football History Dude, and I hope that you enjoyed this recent episode presented by the Sports History Network and were able to learn some good old-fashioned sports history knowledge nuggets. I started the Sports History Network back in 2020 with the mission to help podcasters find a community of like-minded sports history nerds, as well as helping aspiring podcasters to start their own shows. We have a little bit over 30 shows on the network right now covering all sorts of sports history, but as far as I'm concerned, we're just at the toothpick in the ocean moment, that can't even figure it out because there's so much more coming. We wanted to create the ultimate headquarters for sports yesteryear, starting with Podcast Network and our website, but we're going to continue to move into other mediums as well. And here's the cool part, because we want you to be part of our team. So if you're interested in starting your own podcast, or maybe being a guest on one of our shows, or who knows, maybe even writing an article for us over on the website. Seriously, all you gotta do is reach out to us on the contact page over at sportshistorynetwork.com. You can be as technologically savvy as a Neanderthal tapping on a stone trying to figure out this whole hieroglyphics thing back in the day. Again, it doesn't matter, because even if you don't understand the whole podcast space, we have a production team that can pretty much help you out with doing everything. All you gotta do, head over to sportshistorynetwork.com, head to the contact page, fill it out. That message goes right to me, and I'll reach out to you as soon as I can. But for now, dude, I'm through if you're through.